People will pay to purposes, create product. It's a risky, okay, please do not try now. Hey, वेलकम। मैंने 24 आवर्स का चैलेंज पूरा किया। उसके लिए वाटर और वॉशरूम इन दोनों में टाइम लगता है, तो वाटर और वॉशरूम के लिए मैंने 2 घंटा एक्स्ट्रा किया, टोटल 26 आवर्स। इट्स वेरी वेरी रिस्की, ये बहुत खतरनाक हो सकता है, इसलिए आप प्लीज़ इसके बारे में पहले पढ़ लें, जान लें। आप यूट्यूब पे सर्च कर सकते हैं वाटर फास्ट, हाउ टू डू वाटर फास्ट, और सबसे अच्छा रहेगा कि आप डॉक्टर से सलाह ले लें, ठीक है। Without sleep, although sometimes sleep came, but I quickly wake up. I'm doing this to create a healthy, wealthy, happy and win-win life for every man and woman in the world forever, by promoting reading, learning, self-improvement books and women empowerment books daily, at least 1 to 3 hours, and start by applying easy and small way from your home, with yourself. And people will pay to purposes, create product. It's a risky, okay, please do not try now. As you can see, it's 10:31. As you can see, it's 12:35. Yes, I've completed 24 hours. Please do not try at home or anywhere else. Be very very careful. If you want to try, then please first read about, learn about, search on YouTube what is water fast, what is juice fast. Please do not try at home or anywhere else. Be very very careful. It's morning, you can see it's morning. It's a 24 hours challenge. So for that, if I am drinking water and if I will urine, then it will take time. Obviously it will take time. So for that, for water, I know it won't cost lot of time, but I am taking, okay. So I am giving, because in 24 hours drinking water, I am giving 1 hour to drinking water, extra 1 hour, and extra 1 hour to for going to my washroom. So it will be 26 hours totally, okay. I will be doing 26 hours reading, okay. 2 hours, 1 hour extra for drinking water, 1 hour extra for washroom, okay. And I will read for 26 hours, okay. And sometimes I got, maybe let's start. It's 10:31, okay. As you can see, it's 10:31 a.m. It's 10:31. Whatever I do for the glory of God. It's a verse also, verse 10:31. So start. It's 10:31, and tomorrow 10:31. No, extra 2 hours also. So it will be 26 hours. Okay. So I'm starting reading. So start. Coming off stage, the differences continued after a good stand-up set. I would often get audience members saying to me, "Hey, you are really funny." But after giving a speech with a hard story, people lined up to see me. Some wanted to hug me, and some still had tears in their eyes, and some just wanted to share with me how much my story affected them. And the best news, in all my years of performing, I had never had so many people line up to buy my books and other products. To may argue, Judy, I don't need a hard story. I'm just presenting new software to my company, and people just need to know the logistics of how to use the equipment. There is no need to get all mushy about it. I don't feel it's appropriate to spill my guts to an audience of accountants. Wow! So, I beg to differ. A heart story is by no means just an act of spilling our guts on stage to manipulate or gain sympathy. Your heart story must also provide information about your subject matter. It just happens to be a story that has an emotional component to it. It still has to address the problem and the action steps you just steps you used to solve that problem. And trust me, everyone loves a good story. People will pay to read them in books and watch them in theaters, and every audience being asked to tackle a new challenge, even if it's just new software, wants to be assured that they can do it, that they will succeed, and that change is a good thing. It doesn't mean you have to reveal the story of your abusive childhood to convince people to learn excel, but maybe you can share a story about learning how to golf or snowboard and how you tackled the challenge of a new sport. Maybe your story will inspire your colleagues or actually listen instead of checking their email. There is no subject matter that can't be enhanced by telling a heart story. As a matter of fact, the more technical, statistical, or dry your speech, the thirstier your audience will be for a heart story. Besides which, your heart story doesn't necessarily have to be about you. It can be a story about a client, an acquaintance, or even a story you heard about someone else that moved you. Even accountants love a good story, especially one where the hero is someone like them. After all, when was the last time you went to the movies and the hero was a bean counter? Nearly never. You can start a trend. Plus, your story doesn't have to be a dramatic life or death tale beginning. Speakers most often pick obvious life-changing moments for their heart story, such as a parent's death or a car wreck. Just like I did when I was first starting out, it took me many years to figure out it's not necessarily the epic scope of the event, but the little details that can transform even a small life moment into a great heart story. Matter of fact, at the core of every heart story is one eureka moment when everything changes in my laughing your way out of stress speech. My heart story is very simple. I'm stuck at the airport trying to get to a gig and my plane's been cancelled. As I stand in line with a lot of angry people trying to reschedule, I should decide not to be another angry person. It is in that eureka moment that I decide to make a humor choice, and rather than yell at the gate agent, I choose to make him laugh. Cut to me sitting on me next plane out in a first class seat while all the other bitter people in line were shipped to a nearby Motel 6. Simple story, not very funny, right? Matter of fact, if it happened to you, you might not even feel it's worthy to tell at a dinner party. Yet this 10-minute story has 25 laugh breaks and ends with thunderous applause from the audience. It's all about the delivery and really milking your heart story, sharing your eureka moment and the life lessons you learned, explaining how that moment and those lessons led to your action steps and how your life has changed as a result. What's your eureka moment? Your heart story is not a monologue. It is not the chronological narrative of your life. If you want to detail every year of your life, you should rent a theater and do a one-person show. Speaking has to be about the message of you, and this speech has to address your core promise, not just to function as a collection of remembered moments. In fact, all you need to really communicate your message of you is to identify the one moment, eureka moment. Okay, 1 moment. Your eureka moment when life bonked your over the head so hard that you went aha. This is the moment where you overcame the same problem that you started your speech with. If we are lucky, we are paying attention, we'll realize that our lives are full of these moments. We call them hitting bottom or having an epiphany, or the straw that broke the camel's back, or a light bulb went off, or something just clicked. No matter the terminology, these are the moments you want to share in your heart story, just not all of them at once. The only eureka moment you need to focus on is the one that is relevant to your audience and their problem. It's a big thing. You can. My client Emiko Hori came to me with considerable experience speaking at her local Toastmasters branch, but she wanted to take her speech to the next level. Emiko was the only female manager at a software firm where she supervised a staff comprised entirely of men. This may not seem remarkable in and of itself, but when placed in the context of her childhood, it was extraordinary journey. Emiko told me the story of growing up in a very restrictive household in Japan, where she was taught to be submissive, not to talk, and wasn't even allowed to look her parents in the eyes. Her family immigrated to California when she was 10 years old, and unable to speak English, Emiko felt incredibly isolated from the world. She spent all her free time playing piano, singing in music what she couldn't say in words. She became a concert pianist, and at a concert she met her husband. She transitioned from music to technology and rose through the ranks of the industry to become one of only a handful of female managers working in that capacity. Emiko had spent her childhood in submission and near silence. Come on. Near silence, and now she was a woman in charge. It was a huge journey, and as a result, her speech was a patchwork of many different themes and topics. It was confusing for her audience to understand how exactly Emiko's stories were relevant to them. 1 month into our coaching work, Emiko found her eureka moment. She she remembered an English tutor she had when she was 12 years old. The woman taught her not only to speak English but to speak up and be heard. She realized this teacher had been her Annie Sullivan, the character for her favorite movie at that time, the the Helen the Helen Keller story, the miracle worker. She also realized that she had identified with Helen Keller, feeling cut off from the world, unable to communicate, to look anyone in the eye, to participate in life. It was this English tutor that gave Emiko her voice. It was through their lessons together that Emiko got over her fear and found the courage to speak aloud in her classroom. Once Emiko identified her eureka moment, not only did her story come together but her whole speech. She now speaks to women on the power of speaking up. As you can see from Emiko's journey, your heart story is not the chronological timeline or of your life, but rather an isolated moment in that life that illustrates one of the major life lessons you've learned. A heart story takes the audience on a journey from powerlessness to powerful, from chaos to organized, from resentment to appreciation. How do you identify which story should be your heart story? Well, first you have to understand the difference between telling a story and telling a heart story. The chart below is a helpful guide to help you determine whether your material qualifies as a heart story. Story versus heart story. Heart story. Story. The storyteller tells a story, usually leaving it up to the listener to determine the message. The audience is passive. They are required only to listen. The story remains the same no matter the audience. The emphasis of the story is on the main character and how he or she either overcame or succumbed to obstacles. The character in a story learns something new from what happened and changes. The ending can be happy or sad. And in heart story, the speaker tells the audience the message of the heart story upfront point. The audience is active. They are required to act on the information they are hearing. The heart story is adapted to relate to the needs of the audience. The emphasis of the heart story is on the obstacles of the audience, and the heart story is used to inspire them to follow the speaker's solution. Okay. The audience learns something new from the heart story and understands how they can use the action steps to change their own lives. The ending must inspire. The ending must inspire. Okay, must inspire. With all that said, you don't need to worry about finding her perfect, super original. Nobody's ever heard this before. Heart story. It's rarely about what happens in the story that inspires an audience. Inspires an audience. Okay, an audience. And but rather how you tell the story. As a matter of fact, two people can have a story with an identical plot, and yet in one speaker's hands the story is a dramatic tragedy, and in another speaker's hands it's a comedy, and both speakers can communicate two different core promises using the same exact heart story. I was having lunch with Ed Tate, who was the recipient of Toastmasters World Champion of Speaking Award in 2000, and asked him about his heart story. As he spoke, my mouth dropped open. We had the exact same heart story. In Tate's story, he is at the airport just like me when he intervenes as an angry traveler is verbally abusive to a gate attendant just like me. At the end of Tate's story, the airline shows him appreciation for sticking up for an airline employee, and they upgrade him to first class just like me. But at the end, Tate's story in his speech, one of those days, culminates with a core promise of courage as he asks the audience a question and a call to action. How do you react when others are in trouble? Every now and then we must step outside of our comfort zone. We must answer that voice in our head and heart, the voice inside all of us. It is the voice of our conscience, the voice that questions what is the right thing to do, the voice that cries out, if not you, then who? If not you, then who? It was like I said all along, I knew it was going to be. Audience completes the sentence, one of those days. My ending was very different and focused on my core promise of using humor as a life tool. Who are you? You are one of those angry people in line. It's not what happens to you that makes you angry, it's how you choose to react. So make a humor choice, don't get mad, get funny. You have already heard the explanation of why my message of use centers around humor, so you know why I approached that hard story the way I did. To understand Ed's core promise, you need to know that it was heavily determined. That is heavily determined by childhood, when his father left his mother stranded, broke and struggling. Ed grew up feeling powerless to make things less difficult for his mother. When he finally met his father and discovered that the man was wealthy and had been living a life of ease while his own family struggled in poverty. Ed was enraged or enraged. He channeled that anger into living a life of courage and doing the right thing. Doing the right thing. It's almost as if Ed's father is in each audience as he implores his audiences to do the right things. His speeches teach others is the broader message of you that Ed waves message of you that Ed waves through all of his speeches, materials and books. So when Ed saw a gate attendant being verbally attacked by a hostile customer, he acted in a way his father never could. Ed saved the day. You might want to think who needs to hear your message. Who needs to hear your message? Who needs to hear your message? Who needs to hear your message? That's why similar heart stories can. It's great. Okay, that's why similar heart stories can have multiple meanings. That's why several people can experience the same event and yet come away from that eureka moment with completely different life lessons. A heart story is more about the speaker than a plot, which is good news for you. It means there is no elusive perfect heart story that you have to magically find among the pages of your writing. It means instead of that, any eureka moment you choose to launch your heart story can be constructed to get laughs, tears, and to reflect the core promise of your speech. So, as a magician will say, pick a eureka moment, any eureka moment, and stick with it through these exercises. Perhaps your moment has a message that someone in your life needs to hear as well. Case study: Tracy Suttles personalize your sales approach through the art of conversation. Tracy Suttles helps salespeople improve sales. Eureka moment happened at age 14 when she was caught ditching school by the school nurse. She thought the usual would happen: detention at call to her mother and punishment, but the nurse didn't turn her in. Instead, she listened past Tracy's lies and excuses to hear what was really going on in her life at home. For the first time, Tracy was truly heard and told the nurse about the verbal and emotional abuse she was suffering at home. Okay. She was suffering at home. The nurse took action and Tracy was removed from her home and began her process of healing. Okay. It's a powerful heart story that which Tracy gives her call to action to the salespeople. Are you just following a script, or are you truly listening to your customers? Or are you or are you or are you truly listening to your customers? Right now, turn on the person next to you and ask them, how are you feeling right now? Then listen truly. Listen. Then listen. Truly listen and say, I hear you. Those are words that can not only change your sales but turn you into a hero. Turn you into a hero and into a hero man and into a hero woman. Hero man and into a hero man. Hero man, hero woman. Hero man, hero woman. Okay, exercise picking a eureka moment. At the pinnacle of any story is a moment where you either 1. Overcame an obstacle, 2. Solved a mystery, 3. Resolved a problem, 4. Brought order to chaos, 5. Went from innocence to experience, 6. 5 plus 1, 6. Experienced personal growth by realizing something. Find that eureka moment and you will find your heart story. I was consulting with Robert Chuck Rose, who owns many restaurants and speaks on customer service. He wanted to speak to his audience about finding a healthy life-work balance. He told me a story in broad strokes. I was a complete workaholic growing my business and nothing else mattered. The consequences were that I lost everything. Broad strokes. This is how my people tell a story summing up months of years. Oh my God. Oh, sleepy feeling. I'll be keep going. Okay, summing up months or years of their life rather than pinpointing the exact moment when life changed. When I asked Chuck what he meant by complete workaholic, he then pinpointed one particular Thanksgiving. He was working late and kept calling home to tell his family that he would be there, but to go ahead and cut the turkey rather than wait. Okay, so turkey rather than wait. I promised that I would be there for Christmas dinner, but the marriage did not make it that far. By Christmas, my wife had filed for a divorce. Chuck's eureka moment was waking up on Christmas morning, along in a friend's windowless basement. He would lost his family. He would lost his business. That's the moment when he understood the life lesson that if you don't take care of what's important, you will lose everything. Yes, by identifying and relieving, and reliving that eureka moment, that the audience understood the core promise of Chuck's speech. He then drives his point home by asking the audience this question: Are you waiting until you reach some milestone before you can be happy? Take care of what's important, or you might lose everything. Now let's find your eureka moment. Now let's find your eureka moment. Yes. Yes. Now let's find your eureka moment. Come on. Go through the story notebook I asked you to create earlier in chapter 3 and see if any of those stories contain moments that best illustrate how you overcame a similar problem that your speech addresses. In other words, if the problem you announced in the beginning of your speech was bullying, you must share a moment in your life when you triumphed over a bully or realized you were the bully or stood up for someone being bullied. You get the idea. You want to illustrate in a personal way how you have lived your message. Don't worry if the story isn't funny, as later we will do a comedy pass that could turn a painful trip to the dentist into a laughest minus the gas. Minus the gas. Case study: Mary Kincaid. Case study: Mary Kincaid, Closet Zen, how to dress from the inside out and do business with style. Oh, learning is style, reading is style, greatest style, bestest style, happiest style. Okay, speaking student, Mary Kincaid is a fashion style and founder of the popular blog Zuburbia. Her speech is full of useful tips on how to find your own style rather than dressing to impress others. Her eureka moment came when she was in her closet packing her clothes after her divorce became final. She brought in a huge stack of packing boxes, but as she held up each dress, she realized that each bit of clothing was something she bought to impress someone else, her ex-husband, her former corporate job, or her friends. She left the house with only a few outfits and began her journey to find her own style, her own life. Exercise: finding your eureka moment. Read back to the problems that you discussed at the beginning of your speech. To pick a moment in your life when you had a eureka moment about a similar problem. 3. Picture that moment. Where are you? Who is with you? What are you wearing? Yes, I'm learning. 4. Spend no more than 15 minutes writing out the story that contains that moment. Write your story out in present tense as if you are in the story as you tell it. Telling a story in present tense makes your story more immediate and dramatic. So rather than writing there I was, right, there I am, rather than writing, okay, there I am, rather than writing, and he said write, and he is saying write quickly without stopping to spell check. The important thing is to get a draft of your story on paper. Don't worry if it's the right story. We will learn whatever story you pick into the right story. Now that you have a rough draft of your heart story, let's put it through a serious rewrite process. This is what separates the novices from the professionals. Reworking in rewriting until a lump of coal becomes a gleaming diamond. How I wish everything I wrote came out perfectly like a newborn colt that gets up and walks. No such luck. Those of you who will be successful are the ones who have the stamina to examine and rewrite your heart story over and over again, discovering each and every nuance. The following exercise will assist you in rewriting your heart story to make it an unforgettable experience for the audience. The Heart Story Workshop. Step 1. Clarify your objective. Every story has a main character, the hero of the story, the protagonist, who is in pursuit of a worthwhile objective. Most likely the hero of your story is you. The speaker tell the story just right, and the audience will be rooting for you to get your goal. So then the audience needs to know right away what you want. Usually a character is driven by two desires. Conscious objective. This is the obvious objective that a character wants to achieve. In my story at the airport, my desire was simple. I had to get that plane to go to Denver for an audition that would get me on a TV show. Television. TV is full from television. I know. In this setting up my story, I explained how important this was by having my new agent say to me, "Don't let me down, Judy. This is your big opportunity, and they don't come around twice. That simple is your big opportunity, and they don't come around twice." That simple moment set up how important it was for me to get to Denver. The audience needs to have an understanding of the importance or urgency of your objective, as well as the worthiness of the objective. If you tell a story of a character whose main desire is to drown kittens, chances are there won't be any sympathetic listeners. Okay, using trashy shuttles story of being caught by the school nurse for ditching class. As an example, her conscious objective was to skip school. Her obstacle was the school nurse, and to overcome that obstacle she had to lie to pursue her new objective. To new objective. Okay, her new objective, to not get in trouble, to avoid getting detention, and to be left alone to do as she pleased. She wanted that nurse off her back. Okay. Two, unconscious objective. There is always a back story that explains why the hero of our story wants what he or she wants. In my case, I had spent 1 year writing a book that 56 agents rejected. As a result, at 32 years old, an audition meant everything to me. Also pursuing, sorry, also pre- also pressuring me was my emotional baggage. I grew up with an older sister who was severely disabled, being an able-bodied child. The hopes and dreams of my mother were yoked tightly around my shoulders. It was my responsibility to become someone famous or rich so that my mother's life would not have been in vain. My unconscious desire was not to fail and to make my mother proud. When telling a story, the unconscious desire is unapparent to the hero, but usually comes out during the telling of the story. Using Tracy's story again as an example, from the outside, she looked like a kid who wanted to be left alone and to fly under the radar. But really, Tracy, Tracy desperately wanted to be heard and helped by an adult. By skipping school, she was unconsciously asking someone to pay attention to her and to ask her what was wrong. Fortunately, the school nurse was listening with her heart as well as her ears. The stronger your desire, the more drama and comedy will be available to you when telling your heart story. The stronger your desire. Okay, cut this down. Yeah, start. I was coaching a student, Sherry Strong, whose speech was about the life lessons she learned while healing from a massive car accident. She was severely injured, broke every bone in her body, had to be fed through a tube, and lost her ability to speak. When working with her on her heart story, on her heart story, she was convinced that her primary desire was to regain her health. So she started her heart story with the car accident. But something didn't feel right for me. The conclusion of the story was a no-brainer. Clearly, clearly she had recovered, or else she wouldn't be standing in front of an audience speaking. We had to find her deeper objective. Going on instinct, I asked her to do a scene for me when she was 8 years old. The scene went like this. She said, I'm singing a song I wrote. I want to be a singer. I want to write music. Now Now, what is going on? What is going on? Now, what is going on? I asked. I'm showing my mother what I wrote. I'm showing my mother what I wrote. I asked her to act out her mother, a process I will describe in greater detail in the final chapter of part 2, and then watched her transform into a "Mommy dearest" type, angrily tripping up her daughter's song, saying, "This is crap. Stop messing around and do your course. Do your chorus. Chorus. Do your chorus or course. Chorus. Do your course. Course. Chorus. Chorus. Do your chorus." I asked her, "Did you ever perform as a singer?" "No," she said sadly. "No. I got married, had 3 kids, and my husband was so controlling. He would have never let me have a singing career. We divorced. Then I married another man who turned out to be an alcoholic. I was supporting him as well as my 3 children, and that's when the accident happened. We divorced during my therapy. I then spent all my time getting myself well. Part of my therapy was singing." Okay, therapy, singing was singing. It might appear that the car accident derailed her life, but in actually put her back put her back on track to living her passion. She would been by her shut down by her mom, and the car accident forced her to sing again. It was singing that brought back her voice. Literally, it gave her the will to recover. After 45 years of silence, she even started writing music. Now, how powerful do you think it is for an audience after hearing that heart story to witness her sing? There isn't a dry eye in the house, and it makes her message of "do it now" even more personal and effective. If you followed the exercise above, you will have a solid story. Don't worry about it. It's funny. As later in the comedy past chapter will be chapter we will go over it and work in humor. Exercise desire on fire. Read over your story and spend only 10 minutes answering these questions. 1. What is the main character's conscious desire, and how does it relate to the message of your speech? The message of your speech. 2. What is the main character's unconscious desire based on their history? 3. When did this character first realize what they wanted? Step 2. Set up the obstacles. Lots of them. As your character pursues his or her objective, there will be obstacles. If you don't have obstacles, you don't have a story. In the Wizard of Oz or Oz, if Dorothy didn't have to deal with flying monkeys, poisonous poppy fields, haunted forests, violent apple trees, and the wicked witch of the West, getting back home would be a boring, uneventful trip to Kansas, a place not known for excitement. So in your story, your character is running into obstacles trying to get to their objective. When obstacles prevent your hero from getting their objective, he or she makes an adjustment, perhaps a new attitude, a new point of view, and zigzags their way to the end of the story, where they either get or don't get their objective. Come on. Objective. Depending on the nature of these obstacles, the character readjusts how they go about getting to their goal. Obstacles can be other people, circumstances, forces of nature, or inner obstacles. The obstacles in my story were other people, the long line of travelers standing in front of me, and the gate attendant who held our futures in his hand. There were forces of nature, bad weather in the east that had cancelled a number of flights, and then there were my circumstances. I was a rejected writer getting older, who had to be in Denver by a certain time, or else I would miss my only and maybe last chance at success. At first glance, that seemed like a good enough heart story, but I kept digging. There were other obstacles I forgot to mention, and comedy is in the details. Smaller obstacles included the body odor of the man in front of man in front of man okay in front of me in line, the muffled incomprehensible airline and announcements over the PA system, the overpriced bottles of water, the embarrassing hole in my sock that everyone saw when I had to take off my shoes at security, and especially the no joking writing signs by the airport security entrance. Complete torture for a comic trying to get through an airport with my literal baggage and my emotional baggage. Come on. Come on. Emotional baggage, low self-esteem, needing to be liked by the people around me, anger of feeling out of control in the large universe, fear of missing out. Sorry, fear of missing my veins. I was tempted to include them in all my heart story, but that I knew I had to pick and choose those that best my struggle, dramatized my struggle. Let me help you do the same exercise. Oh, those obstacles. Wow. Those obstacles. Yes, it will keep me awake. Yeah. Those obstacles. Let's really dig into your heart story and milk it for all its worth. 1. Make a list of all the obvious obstacles that prevented your character from getting what she or he wanted. 2. Go through your story again with a microscope and find the smaller obstacles that you might have missed originally. Go into the details of what people said and how they looked that made your journey difficult. When writing a story again, write it thinking of all five senses. Was there a horrible smell, flickering lights, an irritating song playing? How did the character of your story react to the obstacles? Did the obstacle make them change their course of action? 3. It's possible. 100%. It's possible. 100%. It's possible. 100%. Come on. Read. Create happy life. Everyone in the world forever. 3. Rewrite your original story and add at least five new physical external obstacles. 5. That could have been overlooked. How does that change your main character's behavior? 4. Now, add 3 more internal obstacles to your heart story. How does that change the meaning of your main character's actions? Step 3. Finale. Step 3. Finale. Your story ends in one of 3 ways. 1. Your character obtains their objective. 2. Your character does not obtain their objective, but all is well. 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 Okay, but all is well because they learned a lesson they needed to learn. At the end of my heart story, I don't get to the gig in time for the audition, but in first class I meet a book agent who ends up representing my book and stand-up comedy. The book goes on the Oprah Winfrey show, becomes a bestseller. The and laughs my unexpected career as an author and a speaker. Missing my plane become sorry missing my plane. Okay, It's 1 hour done. Missing my plane. Missing my plane becomes a life lesson for me and for my audience. We learn that it's not worthy stressing out over the small bumps of life, because sometimes the universe gives us something even better than what we were chasing. Having a sense of humor can even help get us what we want. Exercise. Write your own ending. Take 10 minutes and write the ending of your heart story. Does your character get everything their heart desires? And then answer the question, how did obtaining their heart's desire teach them something valuable? Now do the exact opposite. Take 10 minutes and write the alternative ending to your heart story. What happens if your main character does not obtain their objective? What lesson is learned from that result? Call up your speaker buddy and tell them both endings. Discuss each ending and determine which best serves the needs of your speech. Getting your story perfect. Beth Lapids 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 Beth Lapids created the uncabaret 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 a live show that became an important a live show that became an important venue for the Los Angeles alternative comedy movement. Here is Beth's advice on questions you can ask yourself to get your story ready for an audience. 1. Have I cut enough? Just because something happened doesn't mean it is part of the story. Can you start further into the story? Do we need the backstory? Is there a chunk of dialogue when you only need one line? 2. Is there anything I can milk? Is there part of the story you are rushing? You are rushing over that is juicy and deserves more attention and deserves more attention and deserves more attention. In terms of pacing, it shouldn't it shouldn't feel like a metronome is running. 3. Do I need to tell this story so linearly? Do I need to tell this story so linearly? Linear time is an illusion. You are allowed to loop back for backstory as it is needed, or tell the end first. Think about Lost of Memento. Liberate yourself from linear time. 4. Why am I telling this story now? Why am I telling this story now? That might shift over time and subtly affect the subtly affects subtly affect the focus of the story. Stories get stale but can be refreshed. New dimensions and levels emerge over time. Also, the context in which you are telling the story can subtly affect how you are telling it. Every now and then it is too soon to tell a story. Either the ending is too unclear and or you are uncomfortable with it. If you are uncomfortable with it, the audience will worry about you. You can tell an audience anything, no matter how humiliating, as long as you are comfortable. 5. What's funny about this story? Even if you are not a comedian, there is something funny about your story. Usually it's the most painful part. Exercise frame it. Exercise frame it. Exercise frame it. Okay. Okay, exercise frame. Once you have your objectives, your obstacles, and your ending determined, place your heart story, your heart story within a frame using the same structure we used to illustrate the problem portion of your speech. Point, story, question. You announce the point that will be illustrated by the heart story. You tell the heart story. You remind the audience why you just told the heart story and ask them if they are willing to apply the lesson to their life, and then you repeat to your action steps helped your main character achieve their success. You have already written your heart story above, so just tackle the intro and the exit to frame it. When you write the introduction to the story, keep it short, no more than one or two sentences. Remember, you have just provided the audience with your action steps, so you want to have a natural lead. I know these steps work. I learned how to insert your message here the hard way back in 1982. I wanted to. This is the power of water. I wanted to, when writing the exit out of your heart story, remind the audience of your core promise by asking these questions. How would you react in that situation? How do you handle people? What would you have done? Excuse me. Bless you. Okay, have done. Then give people a call to action. I learned the power of insert your message here, and I know that you can insert action steps. Exercise, take it for a test drive. Get together with your speech buddy and really listen to each other's stories when listening to someone else's story. Note, is the character's objective, authentic, believable, and a worthy pursuit, or Do you understand why the character wants what she or he wants? Okay. Do you understand what the character wants? What she or he wants? Okay. Are the obstacles are the obstacles all believable? Are you telling the story in the present tense? In present tense, is the life lesson clear from the story? Does the story illustrate the core promise of the speech? Does the story address the problem you brought up at the beginning? Is there any place where the story drags or is boring? Completed speech time 27 minutes for half an hour, 50 55 minutes for 1 hour. Chapter 14. Step 6. Now do something. Eileen McDarg is an award-winning speaker who on resilience speaks on resiliency as a business and life tool. Eileen Eileen defines resiliency as growing through challenge or opportunity to end up better. Her action steps present our categories. Her action steps present our categories. Categories. Present four categories. Present four categories of resiliency, adaptability, agility, love, ability, and alignment. When she comes to the last category, alignment, she talks about being lined up with that which is your highest core value. As she says, when that is in place and you are clear on that, it's what Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist Viktor Frankl noted. Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist Viktor Frankl noted, any man or woman can survive any what if any what if they have a why. In any what if they have a why. Man, my mother taught me how to have a why. How to have a why. Hey, welcome. I came back from washroom. Okay, I drank water also. Okay, example list of 3. It's tough being a teacher these days. You are expected to do a lot more than just teach. You have to navigate school politics. You have got to keep the parents happy. You have got to squeeze into that bulletproof vest. Hierarchy, cutler, professional speaker and teacher. Okay, people literally. I understand that you learned today about the first about cap- conceptual selling. That means, one, you aren't selling lipstick. You aren't selling lipstick, but rather the concept of beauty. 2. It's not about the mascara, but the concept of glamour. 3. And I guess it's not about the money, but it's concept of a bonus. People literally fell off their chairs. Now, that's a good joke. The list of three. Okay, is a powerful comedy formula that depends on an authentic setup, leading the audience down a path and then surprising the audience on the third one, or what we comics call the turn. Those of you techies who use PowerPoint can benefit from this by having a surprise when you do bullet points. That third bullet point should be a doozy. Remember, keeping the audience laughing will keep you employed. Oh my gosh. Exercise your list of three. Get a feel. Get a feel of this formula by practicing creating lists of three by filling in the turns of these unfinished lists. There are three subtle clues. You are not getting your annual raise. Subtle and obvious. 1. Sales are down. 2. They cut back on office supplies. And 3. Insert your turn I. And the CEO has a second job as a pole dancer. Oh my god. And the CEO has a second job as a pole dancer. There are three subtle clues that your relationship might be on the rocks. 1. You have stopped communicating. 2. You don't hug at night. 3. Universe, what do you want me from? 3. Insert some clue that's huge and obvious. She's issued a restraining order. Go through your list of problems that you created in chapter 10 and see if you can create a list of 3. Write out a setup that relates to the problem, such as there are 3 subtle clues that you are stressed or not healthy, going to get fired. Then make the first 2 subtle and the last one obvious and big. Try it. You will love it when you get laughs. Comedy formula: funny frustrations. This is a great way to poke. Okay, funny frustrations. This is a great way to poke fun of some of the industry terms that are a part of the vocabulary that the audience uses. Whatever you make like uses. The formula goes like this. You may not know this, but industry term is actually a this is actually this term. Language derived from Latin, Navajo, etc., etc. Meaning this. Insert problem. Meaning this. For instance, if you are talking to entrepreneurs and one of their problems is not being able to set boundaries between their work and their personal life, you might want to use this formula to say, you may not know this, but entrepreneur is actually a French term meaning I work in my underwear. Case study: Darren Lacroix, 2001 Toastmasters World Champion of Public Speaking. When Darren arrives at a gig, he observes what he can plug into this funny frustration formula. By picking something that everyone has experienced, he is guaranteed a laugh. He is guaranteed a laugh. As he says, I observed that there was an unusually long walk at the Vegas Rio Hotel to get to the meeting rooms. Then I overheard people complaining about how far meeting rooms were from hotel rooms. Early in my speech, I said, "Welcome to the Rio Hotel. You might not. Okay, you might not know this, but Rio is a Native American term meaning long flipping. Okay, long flipping hallway, killer opening as they all could relate, and it showed that Darren's speech was not canned. As Darren says, if you are giving a speech on presentation skills rather than simply saying that most PowerPoint uses are boring, use this formula to give the same information and get a laugh as well. You may not know this, but PowerPoint is a Sanskrit term meaning boring as presentation. In order to do this exercise, pick one of the industry words that is a part of the problem of the audience. This could be the name of a problematic computer system, the so-called help desk, complicated computer procedures, ROI report. When to use the FFF, ROI means return on investment. A great place to use, when to use the FFF, triple F, that is a great place to use the funny frustration formula. Funny frustration formula is when talking about the problem. It's a surefire way to illustrate the audience's frustration and get a laugh. So make a list of the industry terms familiar to your audience. Then make a list of the frustrations associated with the problems of the audience. The more negative the frustration, the funnier the joke will be. The more negative the frustration, the funnier the joke will be. Now connect the two, try them out with your speaking buddy and see if you get a laugh. Comedy formula, acronyms. Take the acronyms your audience uses at work and network them into and rework them into different meanings. You can use their acronyms to illustrate their problem in a funny way. Comic Steve Bluestein was doing a speech for the Ford Motor Company and joked about their competition. I know you at Ford are concerned about quality. You don't want to end up like flat, which I believe means fix 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 it again, Tony. So again we start the way most joke writers start by making a list. In this case, make a list of short signature words that are associated with the group you are speaking to. For instance, it could be the name of their payroll system, the name of their cafeteria, or one of their many acronyms. Then do a list of the frustrations associated with that item. Next, take one of their frustrations and see if you can express it by having it fit into an acronym of one of their terms. If you were speaking to the FBI and they had a party the night before, you could say, looking at your eyes, I can see that FBI really stands for fairly blurry intoxication. Comedy formula. Top 10 list. If you find yourself with long lists that won't fit into a list of 3 formula, why not pull a David Letterman and create your space? Come on. Wake up. Okay. Formula. Why not pull a David Letterman and create your own top 10 list for their problems? The trick here is to create a list that sets up the core promise of your speech. I do a top 10 list of ways you are stressed. Do it for a happy life. Come on, create happy life. So Eileen then tells her heart story about her mother, who was a women's Air Force service pilot in World War II. As Eileen says, although they did all the military domestic flying and 1074 women earned Air Force wings, they were not considered officially military. They flew 60 million air miles of official military duty, and 38 of them died in the course of duty. But because they were not considered official military, there were no benefits. And in at least one case, they had to pass the hat of send the body of someone in their unit home to her parents. And when they were disbanded, women were not allowed back in the cockpits of military planes again for 30 years. Their grand experiment seemed like a failure. It wasn't until 70 years later, March 2010, when they were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. Gold Medal. Gold Medal. At the end of Eileen's story, she pinpoints the major life lesson of her story. They didn't do it for the gold medal. They would have kept doing it because of their core values of service and love of country. She then comes to the call to action of her final story, and asks the audience this question: how many of you have days where you feel that what you do doesn't matter? I'm here to tell you that what you do does matter. Eileen, Eileen then gives her final call to action. Know what is most meaningful to you and keep that center. When you can stay connected to what is most meaningful to you, then that's the ultimate resiliency skill. And regardless of whether anyone acknowledges you or not, that's what keeps you focused, keep you centered. And I guarantee you and I guarantee and I guarantee you will be able to stay right side and up in a world that is upside down. If we are going to change the world, we have got to get people out of their seats and motivate them to actually do the action steps you presented as the solution to their problems. This is the main thing. Keep the main thing. And don't forget that the people signing your checks want your speech to do more than entertain. They want results. To wrap up your speech, you need to remind the audience of their problem. Your solutions can core promise and the action steps. You also need to remind them that you know they can do, because you already have. This is the call to action I have mentioned. Doing after. I have mentioned. Doing after each action step. Now at the end of your speech, you want to summarize your action steps and give the audience one concert specific and rousing assignment to do immediately. This is your one important final call to action. This won't work if you just list a bunch of things they have to accomplish. Nobody does something just because. A stranger in a suit on a stage tells them to do it. Sorry. To do it, you have to present this call to action in such final action in such a way that they will want to do it. It's your ultimate motivational moment right after your heart story. Exercise the call to action. First, you need to remind the audience about their problem and how bad it feels to have no solution to that problem. This is a great place to use rhetorical questions. The way I do this in my speech is, who are you in life? Are are you one of those angry people at the airport? This is a reference from my heart story about being angry at the airport. How is that working out? How is that working out for you? Is getting angry getting in the way of what you want to have in your life? Are you losing friends, family members because you are not so much fun to be around? Keep the summary of the problem short and sweet, and then ask the audience want to if they want to try something different. This is where you bring it home. Boil down your action steps so they have easy to remember and easy to do. Don't end with don't end with so tomorrow. How many of you are doing sorry how many of you are going to redo your will, set up a living trust, and restructure your retirement? Give people something very simple that they can do, such a sign up, vote, believe, start, insert action, stop, insert action. Okay, start, insert action, stop, insert action, and yeah, visit this website, donate, and donate. Your call to action can become your tagline, posted on your t-shirts, mugs. Call to action. Mugs and other merchandise. Billionaire owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team turned speaker Art Williams' call to action is do it big. He wears in on a t-shirt during his speech. Since my action step is extremely simple, make a humor choice by saying woo hoo, woo hoo. When things get stressful, I ask the audience in my call to action. When your mom asks you if you have gained weight, what will you say? Woo hoo. When they announce that your plane is cancelled, what are you going to say? Woo hoo. Woo hoo. Okay, on your when writing your call to action, think about including the results that are possible if audience members will take that action step. It's one thing to say, I want you to make 5 additional sales calls a day. It's another thing to say anyone want to increase their income by 20%. Okay, by 20%. How many of you are willing to give up an additional 15 minutes of your work day in exchange for a week on the Italian Riviera? Well, we can do that by making only 5 additional calls a day. See how I avoided saying I want to do. No one wants to be given a core Remember your mom telling you she wants you to take out the trash. How would that work for her? And please, for the love of God, know when to end your speech. Don't use the phrase in conclusion and then go on forever and then go on forever. Zzz. And don't finish with a long winded sales pitch of your merchandise. This is the number one complaint meeting meeting planners get from conference attendees. This is not a good place for good place for a commercial. Once your heart story is finished, out of burst out of there on a high note and don't blow it. When done properly, you hey when done properly, you will feel the rhythm of going from the emotional moment at the end of your heart story to your call to action. This means that you start slow and build in speed, in intensity, and hey, wake up, wake up, man. Come on, wake up. Yes. Okay, so this means that you start slow and build in speed, intensity, and volume. Although you should never ever shout at an audience, say thank you and take a bow. Thank you. Okay, completed speech time 30 minutes or 1 hour. 30 minutes or 1 hour. Chapter 15, Step 7. The funny is okay. The funny is money. The funny is comedy pass. There are two kinds of speakers: funny speakers and unemployed speakers. Overheard at national overheard at national speakers. Okay, so overheard at National Speakers Association national meeting. Making speakers funny is my specialty, and here is the good news about adding comedy to your speech. You don't need to be a trained comic to get a laugh. I have found surefire specific techniques that see that will take your speech from a polite chuckler to a gut buster. You can do this. You really can. Being funny as a speaker is a lot easier than being a stand-up comic. Being a funny as a speaker is a lot easier than being a stand-up comic. Speakers aren't expected to get huge laughs every 10 seconds. So when you deliver them, it's a happy surprise, which means you will work more often. Plus, you need to do this. What do meeting planners really want? I heard a panel of experts say what event planners and corporate audiences really wanted is content, but what I kept seeing was quite different. When it came time to book a speaker, the speakers that used a lot of humor and stories, those were the ones that kept getting booked. Brian Lord, speaker agent, VP of Premier Speakers Bureau. Okay, meet funny people with a message. Meet funny people with a message. The Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor, AATH.org, is a non-profit member-driven international community of humor and laughter professionals and enthusiasts. AATH provides its members the educational cutting-edge resources and supportive community they need to excel in the practice of and promotion of healthy humor. Members include scholars, psychologists, counselors, allied healthcare practitioners, nurses, social workers, physicians, funeral directors, funeral directors, business executives, human resource managers, educators, clergy, hospital, clowns, speakers, trainers, and many others who incorporate humor in their life and work. No matter how serious your topic. Okay, no matter how serious your topic. I'm going to washroom. Okay, then I will come quickly. I came from washroom. I came from washroom. It has taken 3 to 4 minutes. Okay. No matter how. Okay, I must drink water also. No matter how serious your topic, everyone who steps on stage needs to add humor to their presentation. needs to add humor to their presentation. Actually, the more serious your topic, the more you need some yucks. Let me use an example of something very funny, very unfunny, to prove my point. The genocide, the genocide in Darfur. Excuse me. Recently, a speaker came to me needing a punch up for his speech to encourage volunteerism in Darfur. Needless to say, his speech was serious business. I had no idea how we could find the funny in speech in such depressing subject matter. It was like writing Auschwitz the musical without the help of Mel Brooks. What could I do? My only option was to dig deep for the details, because that's where humor hides, in the specifics, in the obstacles rather than in overall topic. Turns out he had a few problems that needed solutions. He was in fierce competition with other non-profits for a limited number of dollars, which sounded like a contestant on a game show. You must choose between these two suitcases. Suitcase 1 is dollars for Darfur, and suitcase 2 is Twitter for trouble thoughts. His second big issue was credibility. Donors are never sure whether they can trust a charity, which sounds like dating. I mean, they invited me to the gala dinner, but then they never returned my calls. I think they are wooing that woman with the bigger ahem checkbook, relating something very niche, dark, specific, that is unfunny, to something very mainstream / light but still specific, will help to guide you toward funny. Don't cheat yourself out of discovery process. Okay. Explore the depths of the darkness. Explore the problems. Have the guts. Have the guts to delve into the details where you find laughs might surprise you. We comics make lists of possible funny stuff all the time. Most civilians will stop when they can't make something funny. After three tries, working comics will try 20 more times. It's a numbers game, just like sales. The more you try, the better chance you have of hitting on something funny. So try out the different exercises in this chapter. If you find
you are trying too hard or feeling frustrated, move on to another exercise. Some will work for you and some won't. Remember, comedy is supposed to be fun, and doing the comedy pass on your speech should be a hoot. There is nothing so dreary as someone so serious about comedy. Lighten up and enjoy yourself. The best place to start. Look right in the mirror. How to get laughs in your opening? You are enough just as you are. Speakers think they have to change their personalities in order to seem funny. They try to loosen up, be more physical on stage, or even get a little nasty. No. Nasty. No. Funny comes from truth, sometimes the painful truth. Don't change who you are. Acknowledge the truth of who you are. Make fun of the obvious. See yourself the way an audience sees you. I know, guys, you will subscribe. Okay, I know. I know you will subscribe. I don't need to say this. Okay, I know you will. I know. I know. See, if I make it, you will subscribe automatically. I don't need to say this, right? Let's face it. When a speaker steps on stage. When a speaker steps on stage. When are facing an inherent hostility toward know-it-alls. The best way to curb that judgment and diffuse hostility is to do some light-hearted self-mocking. Having the guts to get a laugh at your own expense can appease even the harshest critic. Poking fun at yourself not only creates laughter, it creates likability. We all love people who don't take themselves so seriously. And besides, the first part of your speech is about problems. So why not start with your own? That's right. That's not an expanding waistline. That's a punchline. When I boasted that my book, The Comedy Bible, could make anyone funny, National Public Radio put me to the test to do a comedy makeover on the most unfunny, humor-impaired person they could find. I agreed, and Captain John Hinsdale was picked. He is a Navy officer at Port Hueneme, California, who who lectures on the history of civil engineering. The captain had a special talent of making a boring topic even more boring. He was supposed to educate the cadets, but the problem was he was putting them to sleep. His wife also complained about his ability to clear a room when he told a story. He spoke in a deep, robotic monotone that made Mr. Spock sound exciting. Captain John Hinzel was a buzzkill. And he knew it. Judy, I know, I'm so serious. Can you help me be funnier? How do I get more confident, more animated, more relaxed when I speak in front of others? John was approaching being funny and entertaining the way most people do. They assume that they have to be something other than their drab selves. That's far from the truth. Actually, when speakers try to be funny is when they become inauthentic and off-putting. The captain was shocked to find out that his comedy makeover didn't include changing his personality. It included making fun of it. I told John, I don't want you change. I don't want you to talk faster or use more modulation when you speak or smile more. You wear party hats. That's not who you are. Trying to be funny makes you unfunny. Well, then how can I be funny? What do people joke about behind your back? I asked. The captain had a list of the things that people joked about him. His seriousness, his monotone, his emotionless tone. The next time the captain did his presentation in front of his cadets, he said, I know you think I'm uptight. Well, I just want you to know that last night I got wild. I drank milk one day past the expiration date. Oh. The place fell apart. If you want to get a laugh when you first come on stage, the best way is to joke about something obvious about you that the audience sees. Make comedy fit. When making fun of yourself, it has to relate to your message. You can't just have a joke for the sake of having a joke and then back to your speech. The joke has to illustrate a point. One of the best ways to use this is during the problem. So you might be talking about how difficult their lives are and then say, I know how you feel. Look at me. Then go into one of these formulas. Exercise. Make fun of yourself. Make fun of yourself. 1. Make a list of what people see when you walk on stage. Your weight, hairline, age, gender, clothes, and attitude. Anything that makes you different can be comedy gold. Case study. I know what you are thinking. Speaker and stand-up comic. Diane Kawasaki is a little person. She creates quite a buzz as she comes on stage, as she is all of 3 4 tall. She is also of Asian heritage. After the audience gets a good look at her, she takes a pause and then says with attitude, "I know what you are thinking, so let's clear this up right away. The politically correct term is Asian American." People laugh so hard they literally fall off their chairs. To make a list of any qualities you think the audience might notice, such as whiny voice, seriousness, awkwardness, aggressiveness, high energy, low energy. Note that none of these things should be funny, but they should all be real. Keep your list focused on the things the audience can actually see or notice. "I'm short" is better than "I'm lactose intolerant." Use the lists you have created. Play with these formulas. I know what you are thinking formula. I know what you are thinking. Act out. I know what you are. I know. I know what you are thinking. Act out of what the audience is thinking. I. Boy, does she know that her hair is the color of Cheetos. Then give a retort. Yes, I do know. And actually part-time I donate my head to guide planes into the gates at the airport. Stupid question with funny retort formula. People say stupid things about you when you are insert quality. I say insert funny retort. Have you ever had someone say something stupid and then a week later you thought, I know what I should have said in response? Using this formula, you can recreate the stupid thing that someone said about you and what you should have said when it happened. Make a list of stupid things people say to you and see if you can find a funny retort. Award-winning humorist Jane Robertson gets reams of laughter by joking about the odd things people say to her regarding her 6'2" height. People are always asking me silly questions. How is the weather up there? How tall are you? I was on a plane and a woman commented, "Wow, you are tall." I looked down at myself and said, "Oh my gosh. I wasn't when I got on the plane. I must be the peanuts. The audience roars. As Jenny says, my message is to show people how to laugh at things. how to laugh at things that we can't change. Maybe we can change. Don't need. Okay. Using funny retorts when quoting statistics. In chapter 10, I suggest using statistics or quotes to get credence of to the problem. You can bounce off these statistics or quotes to get a laugh. The formula is to give the quote or statistic and then insert your funny comment or disagreement. I presented summarizer, author and comedic speaker Dale Irwin. Okay, Irwin, with a few quotes and statistics. Here is what he came up with. Statistic: 1/3 of Americans feel they are living with extreme stress, says USA Today. Dale's retort: and the other 2/3 are giving it to them. Quote: Charles Darwin said, "A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life." Has not discovered the value of life. Dale's retort: but a man who has discovered the value of Xbox. But a man who has discovered the value of Xbox will waste the rest of his life. But a man who has discovered the value of Xbox. Now you try it. Make a list of stupid things people say to you, make a list of stupid things people say to you, or what people in the audience might be thinking about you, and see if you and your buddy can find a funny retort. Some of you might not have an obvious characteristic that you can joke about. No worries, just move on to the next comedy formula. Don't bother making up something people might say if they are not saying stupid things. Congrats, you have not smart funny. You have got smart friends. Comedy formula. Self-mocking, reluctant admission. Anyway, the beauty of the reluctant admission is that there is no limit on how many times you can use it. Use it during any story or whenever you over-exaggerate. Come on. And whenever you over-exaggerate a statistic or a result, there is something very funny about someone admitting that they lied or exaggerated something, and even more funny and endearing when the honesty comes from a respected professional. In this exercise, you make a big bold statement of truth and then reluctantly admit that you were caught telling a lie. Here is the formula. Here is the formula. Lie admission 1, quiet admission 2, quitter anyway, loud anyway. Oh, continue with speech. Here is how to put it into action. Reluctant admission. You need to find a coach that inspires, motivates, and will push you to your physical limits. My swim coach has me swimming 500 meters each and every day. Actually, it's more like 100 meters daily. Well, okay, 6 laps around here. Meters daily. Well, okay, 6. Okay, 6 laps around the hot tub. Anyways, Elliot Hope, professional speaker. Body language. The earth lies here. The truth lies here. Here is how to put it into action. Lie, bragging, I lost 120 pounds. Admission, one quiet. Well, I didn't exactly lose all of it at once. Admission 2, quieter. Well, actually, I just lost and gained the same 10 pounds 12 times. Anyway, loud. Anyway. Continue with message, but today I'm going to show you how you can make a difference in your health and maybe not lose 120 pounds but 5. I was so excited to find this formula, but here is the secret. It only works if you works. Anyway. Really loudly. Anyway. Really loudly, and then quickly move on. Anyway. And quickly move on. Getting laughs can be finicky. Sometimes changing one word can make the difference between a laugh and no laugh. So using the list of defects you made above, give this one a try by. Okay, try by turning a perfect into an initial brag, and then have to admit that you are lying. Use the formula above. The formula. Hey, wake up, baby, wake up, man. Okay, it only works between the hours of 8 am and 10 am. Anyway, get it? Comedy formula. Self-mocking the mashup. Warning: don't lie about your mashup. Only joke about your religious. Cultural, or ethnic stereotype if you actually are that religious culture or ethnicity. Corporations are particularly sensitive to politically incorrect jokes. Oh my god, come on, man. Okay, jokes. But if you are joking about yourself, human resources can't take issue with it. It's hard to listen to speakers who qualify as experts by droning on and on with lists of information and that don't include a laugh. I'm from blah blah. I'm from blah blah. I went to school in blah blah and I got a degree in blah blah. Boring. This is a lost opportunity for a human. For a human. For a laugh. Here is a way to introduce your credentials that I call the mashup. Let's say the instance. Come on, man. I call the mashup. Let's say, for instance, you want to tell the audience that you are a nurse and a stand-up comic. All you have to do is to add the words so that means I and then add the mashup of the stereotype. For example, speakers and speakers and comic. Judy Oliverio says, I'm a nurse and a stand-up comic. So that means that stand-up comic, so that means that I never get a break from SS. Here is how to use the mashup formula. Where to use the mashup? I need to again go to washroom because if you have urine fluid, so it will be very very sleepy. there is someone in washroom. Okay, my father, and I will go after. Where to use the mashup? Consider using the mashup during the step 2, the credentials portion of your speech. It's a great way to get a laugh while also bragging without bragging. Make people laugh and they'll actually remember your credentials instead of being turned off by your bravado. By your bravado. I'll use exercise mash it up. You may need some help to use this comedy formula, so let's do some brainstorming. Make a list of your ethnicity parents, nationalities, your hobbies, and your current and past professions. Okay, pick two of the items you wrote above and put them in formula below. You may not know this, but I am half this and half, or you can say part of this or part that, part of this or part of that, part this or part that. Or I'm an engineer during the day and an actor at night. I'm an engineer during the day and an actor at night. This, so that means I this. Okay, now that's you have got them laughing through your first minutes on stage. Let's bump up the laughs on the problem section of your speech. How to get laughs at you? Introduce the problem. Those of you who have read the Comedy Bible no, it's not the subject matters that's funny. It's what you do with it that make people laugh, and the problem section of your speech is a natural for mining laughs, getting laughs when detailing the audience's problems serves two purposes. One, laughter makes the audience happy and entertains them. Two, turning their problems into punchlines in transformational. The first point is obvious, and anyone who books speakers knows that speakers who entertain as well as educate get more bookings and higher fees. But the second point is less obvious. When someone can laugh at a problem, it tends to make the problem seem smaller in size and more manageable. Once someone can laugh at a problem, they feel they have more power over it, and it doesn't dominate their lives. In truth, getting the audience to laugh at their problems can be even more powerful than your upcoming action steps. But it has to be done in the right way. It can't appear that you are mocking the audience or not taking their problems seriously. You can't poke fun. You, as your mom used to say, you have to walk a fine line between getting the laugh and still being respectful and treating the problem seriously. Sometimes just revealing you know about the problem is enough to get a laugh from my research interview with a pet food company. I learned that a big employee complaint was that they were only allowed one picture on their desk. I simply acted out that problem. It's hard just using one picture on your desk. Just your desk, because you have to decide who that's going to be. 10:31, 11:31, 12:30. You are going to cat or husband. You huge laugh and cat or husband. Okay, huge laugh and applause. There. Okay, applause. What's up with Coke? I'm very careful who I poke fun at. I don't promoting water. Water is life. Yes. I'm very careful who I poke fun at. I don't even poke fun at my clients' competition. If I'm working for Pepsi, don't drink these things, man. I don't poke fun at Coke because I might be working there next week. Because I might be working there next week. Connie Podesta, speaker and author. Always remember, you are the outsider. Come on. You are the outsider. I was playing a small town that was not exactly a tourist destination. In fact, when I looked at the newspaper or to see what was going on in town, I saw a picture of myself that gave me an idea. Since I had time the day before, I walked around town with my camera taking pictures of possible tourist attractions. I took a picture of a bait shop, calling it the freshest sushi in the world. I took a picture of the tattoo parlor. And called it an art museum. The slide show got big laughs and I thought I was very successful. Then I checked my email. Thanks for flying in from LA to make fun of our home. It's a better place now that you are not here. Ouch. Now there will always be a few people in the audience who just don't have to have sense of humor, but my job is not to turn people off. Reevaluating that next time I did this. I set up a bit differently by telling them that I was looking for funny things, but I ended up finding some of the most wonderful people in the world, and you can't find and that where I live. No hate mail that time. A learning experience. So when you are an outsider, you want to make sure that you are respectful of where your clients live, how they talk and your differences. You need to be the butt of your jokes and not them. So now when an audience laughs, I say thanks for laughing. Nobody laughs in Los Angeles. They can't too much botox. Huge laugh, and how I am one of them. The second rule is never diss. Never diss the person signing a check. That one needs no explanation. Okay, now with those two rules are out of the way, let's talk about things you can do to be funny. In the problem section of your speech, there are different techniques you can use to present the audience's problem. Okay, so doesn't mean you shouldn't try it. Warning: never use a joke you found on the internet, or you heard a comic perform during their set. That's called stealing, and it's not funny. Exercise the basic act now. Every person you mention in your speech should be acted out. Go through your speech and underline every person you mention and make sure that you are acting them out. If you are uptight about acting someone out, then focus on their physical being rather than their voice. If you are telling a story about your mother, then see how she stands, leans over, walks, picks up something, answers the phone, stand like her. Does she hunch when she walks? Does she always have a finger out reprimanding, shaking it? Does she chew gum? Bite her pencil. Bite her pencil. Pull at her hair. Stand stiffly. Take her stance. Become her. Feel her. The voice will take care of itself when you take on another person's physical attributes. Comedy formula: act out inanimate objects and animals. The characters in act outs don't have to be people. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much a guaranteed laugh. If you act out animals or inanimate objects. Robin Williams gives voice to a chair. I wonder what chairs think about all day. Oops, I wonder what chairs think about all day. About all day. Oops! Here comes another hole. Richard Pryor's heart talked to him in this joke. Your heart gets mad. Think about dying now. Aren't you? You didn't think about it when you was eating that pork. One tip for doing these act outs is to do it as a character. There is nothing funnier than a cat with a New York accent. Yeah, want me to cuddle with you. Fagada about it. Get a life. Go through all your stories and see if you can add an act out of anything that isn't human. A tree, your keys, your car, my car, your refrigerator. Oh, hello again, fatty. Weren't you just here 5 minutes ago? Adding humor takes guts. Many of my students are very nervous to try the techniques in this chapter, but there is always a big smile on their faces when they get the laugh. Boy, does that feel good? I'm not that funny. What I am is brave. Lucille Ball. Try adding one humor piece each time you speak. You might find that after a year you are hilarious. Being funny is not all in the writing. It's mostly in the performance. Let me help you with that in the next chapter. Let me help you with that in the next chapter. Yes, #G Gurus. Part 3, taking your message to the world. Okay. #G Gurus. Chapter 16, performing the message of you from the page to the platform. Now this part of the book is where I am supposed to lecture you about the do's and don'ts or of performing the speech, how to gesture, how to use body language, voice volume, tone, tempo and pitch, and so on. Here is the problem. I don't believe there is one right way to perform. If there was one right way to present a speech, then all speakers would look and sound the same, like politicians who have been groomed for the national press. You are not running for office. You are not trying to win an election. You are on stage to relay the message of you. Your speech is unique expression of your message of you, and if you truly believe in your message, then it doesn't matter if you stutter, mispronounce words, stand perfectly still, or gesticulate like an air traffic controller. If you are speaking from your heart, then you are presenting your speech the right way, even if you use language that is grammatically incorrect. That is grammatically incorrect. Speeches are not written to be great literary prose. They are written to be spoken aloud and in the authentic style of the speaker. Professional speaker Jenny Robertson is from South Carolina, and her speech is full of why alls, y'alls, you alls, why alls. Okay, why alls, and Melpia, may I help you, her colloquialisms, her colloquialisms authentically reflect her personality and make her speech appealing. Nobody likes a phony. In 2004, Dr. Howard Dean was running for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. At the beginning of the primary, he had headed to the top of the Democratic ticket with his message of taking back the White House, but his stab at being the Democratic candidate was doomed by one speech, and it wasn't anything he said, but rather how he said it. After losing the Iowa primary, he came out to speak to his following. He started getting worked up and ended up ranting, shouting, and presenting what would later become his infamous scream speech. The next day, the press labeled him angry and out of control. The label stuck, and his campaign fell apart. Watching his speech years later, I realized that it wasn't really that he was angry, it was that he was unauthentic. Perhaps he hadn't gotten enough sleep, or was so disappointed with his election results that he thought it was necessary to pile on the enthusiasm to an extreme degree, but rather than being authentic to the moment, he perhaps overcompensated and pushed a performance that sunk his bid for the presidency. Audiences will forgive everything but phoniness, sounding literary, or using big thesaurus words you would never use when talking to friends. These things just won't fly with an audience. Imagine if a high school English teacher got hold of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I have a dream speech. That teacher might have marked his page in red and exclaimed, redundant speeches are meant to be experienced. When a speaker fills each moment with passion, connects with his or her message, that creates a rhythm, a tone, and a movement that powerfully engages an audience. Moving from paper to performance requires passion. When I say passion, I don't mean louder and bigger. So many people feel they have to be full of energy, dramatic, or fast talking. I used to think that for people to enjoy my presentation, I had to move around the stage a lot. Watching my early work is painful beyond belief. I bounce I bounce around the stage like I'm running an aerobic class, and I must have given whiplash to people just trying to watch me. All authentic movement, voice modulations, fakeness, his and histrionics come from the disassociation of being in the moment with the truth of who you are and the message of you. If you express your passion by whispering, shouting, moving, or being still, it doesn't matter your belief in what you do. Hey, come on, wake up. Wake up, come on. Come on. Tip for speaking videos to see the vast range of delivery techniques. The late Apple CEO Steve Jobs slowly wandered around the stage when he gave his famous speeches announcing a new Apple product. Storyteller and comic Bill Cosby performs sitting in a chair. Psychist and cosmologist Stephen Hawking is captivating, even though he can't use his voice or move a muscle. It is only fear and self-doubt that will tell you that you need to be something different than you are. So, the first step to creating a dynamic performance is simply to own your message and accept who you are. Own your message. When I began my comedy career, I got a call from a booker who told me he hated my act. Judy, I don't think you are funny. Actually, your manager said if I never wanted to work with his other clients, I had to book you. Ouch. The gig was that night. How was I to stop on stage when my confidence had been so shaken? I was freaking out. I decided to take my act out of a walk. I broke up my act into small portions and recited each portion as I walked, asking myself, do I like oh my god do I like the material? If I heard someone else say that material, would I find it relatable? Would I find it relatable? I had walked about 2 miles by the time I was finished going through my act 20-minute act. There were a few pieces there were a few pieces there were a few pieces that felt awkward to me, so I cut them, but the rest I kept because no matter what another person said, I liked my material that night. I liked my material that night. I hit a home run. Backstage, the guy who hated my act pulled me aside to apologize. Then he told me the truth. His wife had just filed for a divorce, and I looked like her. Go figure. What gave me the courage to stick with my material was my passion for what I had to say. The passion you have for the message of you connects you to your audience. It is that passion that moves an audience. It is passion that drives your speech and gives you the confidence to perform, and gives you your tone, your physicality, and your style. Here's the thing. Here is the thing. If you took the time to research your audience and followed directions, you have a pretty good chance of creating a speech that will inspire. But no matter how hard you work, not everyone will like your speech. In the end, there is only one person that has to love your speech. That's you. Trust your instincts. Exercise. Take your speech for 6 rewrite walks. You need to go for 6 walks. Take each section of your speech out for a walk. The opening, the problem section, the heart story, etc. Speak each portion of your speech. Okay. Imagining your audience as you walk. I like to walk with a Bluetooth headset in my ear, so I want you to like a mad woman ranting and raving to herself. Ask yourself about each section. Nobody dies listening to a speech. The beautiful part of writing is that you don't have to get it right the first time. Unlike say a brain surgeon. You can always do it better. Robert. Come on, man. Wake up. Robert Cormiller, author, columnist, reporter, and speaker. Does your material feel comfortable to you? Have you picked the right stories? Do your stories serve your message? Do your stories serve your message? पता नहीं था. Sorry. Is any material awkward? If you find there is a piece of your speech that you just can't wrap your lips around, cut it. That's right. Get rid of it. There is a reason you can't memorize or say it. Okay, right. Get rid of it. There is a reason you can't memorize or say it. You probably don't want to. Okay, you don't want to say it. Very often material that is forced, weird, or uncomfortable might seem like a good idea when you wrote it, but getting your speech up on its field will reveal the parts of the speech that don't belong. Can't remember it, then cut it. Okay? Are your stories authentic? Hey, I'm coming from washroom. Okay, I'm coming from washroom.
I came from washroom. I'm feeling hungry, so I'm eating my food. This is my food. Water. Water is life. Drink water. Only water. Sometimes you can drink something. Okay. Weekly once you can cheat meal. Okay. You can do cheat meal weekly once. Not more than that. Okay. That's the meal. You're running, okay. Okay, so now that we have reworked and rewritten your speech, cutting
anything that feels forced. Make the changes in your speech. Does your material feel comfortable to you? Have you picked the right stories? Do your stories serve your message? Is any material awkward? If you find there is a piece of your speech that you just can't wrap your lips around, cut it. That's right. Get rid of it. There is a reason you can't memorize or say it. You probably don't want to say it. Very often material that is forced, weird or uncomfortable might seem like a good idea when you wrote it, but getting your speech upon its feet will reveal the parts of the speech that don't belong. Can't remember it, then cut it. Are your stories authentic? Do they still contain meaning for you? Do you still feel emotion as you speak the words? Are you expressing your thoughts? Are you expressing your thoughts in a clear, small way? Make the changes. Yes. Make the changes in your speech you need to make. If you need to break some rules, then break them. In the end, you are not writing a Judy Carter approved speech. You are writing your message of you, and you are the expert about you. Don't over rehearse. There comes a time when you know your act, but keep rehearsing it out of fear of forgetting material. Know your intent, but not necessarily the words. It's okay not to know it perfectly. No one is going to say, "Well, you were really insightful," but you let out a line. Memorize it well enough, but also know how to go off script so you can swim with the moments. So now that you have reworked and rewritten your speech, cutting anything that feels forced, inauthentic, or just plain weird. The next step is to focus on memorizing and rehearsing. Memorizing your speech without sounding like you have memorized your speech. Remember. Speaking is not about memorizing your speech. Exactly, and having every gesture and movement rehearsed. With that said, if you bring your notes on stage and read from them, that's not called speaking. That's called reading. If you want to be a highly paid professional speaker, you can't hide behind a podium. Reading your speech, we connect to audiences with our words, expressions, emotions, and body language. If your body is hidden behind a podium, you are a talking head. There should be There should be nothing between you and the audience. No podium, no no podium, no papers, no post-its, no empty dance floor, no display table. Especially if you want to get laughs. We comics call the empty dance floor the valley of dead laughs. Just like a dog sleeping between you and your spouse. You and your spouse will prevent intimacy of you and your spouse you and your spouse will prevent that empty dance floor will isolate you from your audience. Don't allow it to happen, even if it feels safer to stand at that distance. Okay, at that distance. Don't be in too distance. Okay. Don't be in too distance. I was booked for a conference where the author of an uber famous self-help book, was scheduled to speak earlier in the day. I was such a big fan of his book that I caught an earlier flight so I could hear him. So I hear him speak. I still arrived a bit late and had to rush to get to the event. I was so disappointed to see hordes of people streaming out as I ran toward the main ballroom. I asked a woman, "Did I miss the speaker?" She responded, "No, he's still on stage. I wish I had missed him." I entered the room and saw No, it's fine. It's good. It's a really good now. Okay, distance. So safer to stand at that distance. No, it's good. I was booked for a conference where the author of an uber famous self-help book was scheduled to speak earlier in the day. I was such a big fan of his book that I caught an earlier flight so I could hear him speak. I still arrived a bit late and had to rush to get to the event. I was so disappointed to see hordes of people streaming out as I ran toward the main ballroom. I asked a woman, "Did I miss the speaker?" She responded, "No, he's still on stage. I wish I had missed him." I entered the room and saw this famous author reading his speech at a podium. He he never even glanced up to look at his audience. If he had, if he had, if he had, he would have seen that the half the people had already left. The remaining audience members were checking their email. Part of putting on a great performance is maintaining eye contact with your audience. To do that, you have to rehearse and know your material. Think about what you have written as your bouncing off point. As you get your speech up on its feet, words, stories, and ideas will occur to you later with more experience under your belt, or if you have been at this for several years, you may feel comfortable mixing it up in the moment. Ideas might pop in your head as you are working, and I always suggest going with that moment. Going with that moment. As long as your idea is G-rated, it's fine to launch into another direction, react to something someone says, but in order to get back on track, you must know your speech backward and forward. Knowing your speech actually leaves room for spontaneity, and spontaneity is key. Spontaneity reflects authenticity. Yes,